Listen up, Rangers. Welcome to the Geek Chest. My name's Steve. Today we got another little fun video. My table's a bit of a hot mess. Currently, we'll do a proper video eventually, but I gotta reorganize my basement because we're gonna be down here a lot more than I have been in previously. But we'll do a proper video talking about that stuff here again in the near future. But what I'm going to do for this video is, because we did the con propping up the MechaGodzilla head, to kind of recreate that scene, we're going to make a little base for him too. So what I got here is all the Godzilla parts, or MechaGodzilla parts that we could find that were smashed from when Arnez beat the crap out of it with a hammer. Video on the channel as well. So we're going to use that to make our littered MechaGodzilla part base. We can also use the radio tower because I have no idea really what to use with this extra tower. And I want to have like one kind of building because there isn't going to be a lot of room to really make a full buildings in the background. Like you can maybe do something in the back, but for the most part, not too worried about it. I'm just going to make it look kind of like rubble with all this stuff kind of littered around. And then he will stand in the middle. So what I got here is some insulation foam we'll use for some of the chunks, because I do want to make some of the rubble look like it's broken building. Also got this craft foam here. This is good for making more littered spots. Just gives it a little bit of different texturing here and there too. It makes it look more rubbly, if you will. Got some great sheets that I've got left over from other projects. This stuff, it's mainly used for sewing, but this makes really good for outside of buildings and, again, rubble, flooring. You name it. It does a lot of tricks. And then might add some like paper clips and stuff just to make different variety of rubble. Could use some of the straws too. Trying to get a little crazy with it. Currently I got my hot glue gun heating up because that's how we're going to get everything attached. And what I have here for the base is just a piece of wood that I had some boards outside, so I cut off a piece of wood off of it. This was actually broken on the end, so I glued them together, which they seem really sturdy. Plus it'll be more sturdy once we start adding some of the stuff on it, but it ain't going anywhere. So again, what I like to do a lot with these diorama pieces is try to reuse stuff I got laying around. So I thought this would make for a nice sturdy base. That we'll talk more about the end of the video why I wanted something that's a little sturdier. That's the reason why I'm not really going crazy with buildings either. But anyways, is this all good yet? Glue gun's good to go. Alright, so first and foremost, we got to figure out exactly where I want my placement of stuff. So I probably should go get the con, because I need to figure out exactly how I want it to sit on here, and then kind of build everything around that. So, right back. Alright, so kind of thinking something like this. So this feet, ideally I want to keep the placement around here. Don't have to be super precise with it, but ideally this is the area of that I don't want to really be messing with anything. So I kind of want the tail in the back, and I kind of want it to be angled upright a little bit. Because I was thinking it'd be kind of cool. Actually, you know what? I got an extra building piece laying around. Hold on. Alright, so kind of got my setup all figured out. I'm currently just gluing some of the parts down. Some hot glue. So it'll go there. This kind of want leaning up against here. Some of this I'll be adding more stability to here later. And you'll see a bunch of strings hanging all over the place. This isn't that big of a deal because you can always clean these up later. And then the little hand, I think I kind of wanted it right around right there. But what I did, you might notice there's a little building here now. What this was is from a previous diorama I've done. But I decided to I reused the light pieces from it, so I'm starting to reuse some of the other lights. like the tipped over ability I'm going to put on my really big city to kind of add a little more character. I was thinking about adding this to it too, but I thought this would just look really nice with the MechaGodzilla arm in here. So if you guys are interested in knowing how to do these, I've done some other videos on this. All this really is one of these cut to the shape of a building and then just wrapped it with some cardstock, printed out with some building textures on it. And then this on top is just some of the sheet craft foam. That's pretty much about it. Then you just hot glue everything together. So everything is pretty well in place now. So next is the fun part. Next is adding all the rubble and damage. So I'll show you guys some of this, and then I'm probably just going to let the camera run and just record the rest of it. But if you want to do some varying textures here and there, we can use some different ones of these. But usually what I do is you'll lay down some glue. So how about right here, put down a little section of hot glue, pull that away. And then just take a chunk and just apply it into the crevice here. And I want to maybe add a little bit more to it, so add some more hot glue to the top. Take another chunk. Do be careful with your fingers because this stuff is hot. Add a little bit there. Rip off another piece and just keep applying until I get to the right look that I want. In the meantime, try to pull off as much of these little strands as I can. There, got a little bit of what will hopefully eventually look like fallen rubber. And then just to kind of even it out, make a little pool around the side here. Then take some little bits. Just add them in wherever you deem necessary. Now, you might notice, Steve, you just covered up the footprint. Well, sure I did. But like I mentioned, it kind of, this is a general guesstimate. So Colin could still put his foot here. And as you can see, I'm kind of squishing it in to kind of compensate for that. Because I want this to kind of just look like the rubble's falling in. And then he'll still be able to stand here appropriately. Actually, to be honest, he probably stands a little better now because he's not going to be as wide-footed. So that's pretty much that for, well, it's kind of, you notice any gaps like that didn't look quite natural to me. So adding a little bit more there, but looks pretty good. So I'll add some stuff like that around, and then what I'm going to primarily use this stuff for is mainly to make like big chunks of what is going to look like rubble. Which, grab this guy, but just break off a section. This stuff I tend to just rip because it looks a little more natural when you do it that way. But now, kind of makes for nice large chunks that I could take this stuff and kind of build around it. So like for the back of the tail piece here, I'll probably put a piece here and then put some more rubble around it. And you just kind of have fun with it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Because like, as you guys can see, I'm not really looking at any movie stills or anything. I'm just kind of just going with what I feel like. I want it to, because for the most part, I don't have the Godzilla's, the MechaGodzilla wasn't, oop, that's hot, intact enough for me to try to replicate. Like the body, Arnez smashed pretty thoroughly, so I gotta improvise here and there. But yep, so like this crack here, I'll try to get this into here. I think anyways. Alright, I'm just gonna kind of just keep playing with this here and there. And then cut back to when I go to paint everything. Let's clean it up a little slightly, but here is it all smashed up. All the broken rubble is kind of where I want it. I see there's like one more spot I probably should try to clean up, but for the most part, pretty happy with the overall results. I'll talk to you guys. Actually, I'll just fix that right now. But next one we're gonna do is we're gonna paint. And the last thing I'm going to do is add the smoke effects, because I want to make sure everything's all nice and properly covered before I put the smoke on, because then I don't really feel like trying to paint around the smoke. And a lot of that's going to kind of like hide the back here is my plan, and a couple of little sections here just to give it a little more character. What's the nice thing about the paint too is it'll kind of help to solidify some of what we just did, because some of these, like these guys are decently fragile. Like it ain't gonna break off super easy like the little flakes will, but paint will help to keep everything intact. And then worst case scenario, if you gotta touch up something a little bit here and there, super easy, because for the most part you just paint it gray. I think actually though, I just, after saying that out loud, I'm gonna go with a darker color, because for this I want to do, we're gonna dry brush it like the head to match it, and to do that I should do it black. The spines here I'm probably just gonna leave alone because I don't think I care enough. I like the red, I think is a nice contrast, but the parts that are the gray for MechaGodzilla definitely want to dry brush, pop out some of the detailing. Plus the black will definitely help a lot with that. It's also going to make this take way more time. Oh, I could have airbrush it, or not airbrush it, spray paint it. Well, if I spray paint it, I got to worry about this building here. Alright, so I got lazy and I busted out my airbrush, so that's how I got to here. But if you wanted to sit there and paint it all, you could. But now I'm just using my hair dryer to dry up some of the paint, and then also it helps to tighten up some of the foam because the heat will make it shrink. So again, like I mentioned before, I'm not too worried about the little strings here and there because we're going to be adding smoke effects, stuff like that anyways. So we can kind of cover up things here and there as we need to. But overall, I think that's looking pretty solid so far. Next, add the grays. So I just got base gray. Going to be just applying this sporadically. Sort of like almost like a dry brush, but for the most part, like I'm gonna be kind of just going a little sporadic. think I'm going to use a smaller brush for this as well. Kind of like this guy here. So take my gray and then just kind of start applying it here and there. I'm trying not to get it all over the place because I don't really want it all over the mechs or anything. Again, just kind of applying it on here almost like a dry brush. Just rubbing it in to all these little nooks and crannies. But for like the rubble, I'm not going to really get super into getting into everything because that's kind of why we applied the black to begin with. Is we wanted that to be sort of our baseline for the insides. And the nice thing about the apple barrel stuff too is that it's not the best at covering. So when you apply, you can still kind of, it'll tend to like darken up, or you can kind of smear it a bit, which I always especially like for projects like this. Kind of like the last one. I'm just gonna sit here, apply all this stuff. I'm not too worried about it if I get on some of the parts, metal parts, because I'm just gonna be going back over that with a metallic anyways. But I don't want to go crazy, like I don't want to get a giant gunk on the armor. But if it gets applied while I'm doing this dry brushing, so be it, you know. So for the most part I'm just applying, using the rubble kind of as my way of getting paint off the brush. And then that lets me dry brush onto the sections that I want to. I got my grays, different shades of grays on. Not 50 of them though, thankfully. Now I'm just dry brushing all my metallics onto MechaGodzilla, and all I'm using is just one straight metallic all the way through. It's just a silver from these guys, Liquitex. I don't see the thing, right? That one. I'm using this one. It's really nice silver. I like the way it applies, so I'm going to be using this on here, even though it is a little more expensive. But I think overall, to give it a nice little coloring that I want. So I'm just going to do this to all the metal bits, and then we'll cut back, because after that, it's pretty much just the smoke, and then we're done. Alright, just checking some placement. But looks like we're doing pretty good. So got the metallics. You might notice I also put some red on the spines. I did that off camera. Just used the metallic red and just highlighted the tips. And then I also took my airbrush and did the base just a little bit more because, I don't know, it looked a little too clean to me. So airbrush a couple of spots just to kind of make it look a little nicer. And that's essentially all you really need to do. What you could also do, and I'm going to do just a little bit, so I have some smoke I already made, which you can use this to kind of litter some spots just to make it look like stuff's burning, which I think I'm going to do. Kind of wish I had a little bit of yellow in these. Because, like, it's a lot of grays already. Well, you know what? I think this is fine. I wish there was a little more coloring going on. But for the most part, like, smoke is gonna not really have too much reds in it. But what do? Take a little hot glue. And you just insert your smoke into it. If you want to make your own smoke, all this is cotton that I spray painted black. That's pretty much it. Like, it helps if you got like a plastic bag around or something in order to not make much of a mess. Then it helps get you a little bit of coverage. And then I tend to kind of roll it up a little bit just to confine the bits a bit, but I wanted to get some smoke on the back here. So I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue along the side here. And then just kind of tuck this underneath. Bring it up. Kind of hide a little bit of my crimes here and there too. And then I could put some here on the front too, but I don't think we're going to worry about that as much. So, overall, really happy with the way it turned out. You guys can see, rubble looks nice. Coloring is good. Got the top here. Little sections. You can see MechaGodzilla's back here. The other foot. Use the radio tower from that was a normal Godzilla, right? Not the heat ray. Then the building back here with the arm just kind of hanging out inside of it. Some of the rubble. Show you guys the back. Kept it kind of basic because for the most part it's not like you're going to really see it. But yeah, pretty quick project. I started this 2 hours ago and we're here now. Pretty much all wrapped up. If you really wanted to, you could clear coat this. Personally, for me, like if I'd go to sell this, I would clear coat it. But I don't feel like you need to, because for the most part, it's just going to be used as a base. So some of the paint gets a little scuffed. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. The silver I use stays on pretty well, and then this is going to stay on the wood here too, pretty good. The only thing you'd have to really worry about is these reds here. I think it would be the big part, and then the other part's just things you might accidentally snap off if you're not super careful with it. But anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. Again, gonna kind of figure out what I'm going to do with this guy. Thinking about putting this guy up for sale. If you guys are interested in that, make sure to go check out our Instagram. Or my personal Instagram. That'll also be down below if you guys are interested in commission. That's also the best way to get a hold of me, that or through our Facebook, because I'll be sharing it all on there too. So if I do end up putting this guy up for sale, it'll be definitely through there. Maybe not as the recording of this video, but sometime in that near future, because I'm not exactly certain what I'm going to do with it yet. Anyways, help us defeat those kaijus by hitting that like button. Subscribe, become a ranger today. We also got Instagram, Patreon, Pinterest, and Facebook. Guys, like people to do a channel and donate. We greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Also, make sure to check out that annotation bell if you guys want to keep up to date with customs. I got some more coming up. Actually, quite a bit more, since I'll be home a lot more. One of the videos I plan on doing soon is a Combat Alex. So look forward to that. Bye-bye.